Okay, so here's a question. When does phone use become too much phone use? I'm sitting in class, we're having a discussion, everything was going great, and I look out and three of my students are on their phones. Okay, well, it's a college class. I'm not going to sit here and fuss at them too much because I know some people actually take notes on their phones, which is weird, but it works for them. But when they're just sitting there on their phones and you know they're not really paying attention in class because they're sitting here like this, they're just looking down the whole time. They're not even looking up at you. I don't even know if you were to ask them a question if they'd know what you're talking about. When does it become too much? You go to a restaurant, half the tables have people sitting there on their phones, playing on their phones. So we had this discussion in class. When does it become too much? At what point do we need to set the phones down and actually have a family meal or a family discussion or friends or something? At what point do we say, can you put that down and talk to me? Do I need to tape my phone to my forehead in order for you to have a discussion with me? What do we need to do? Phones are neat. Phones are great. But I remember 20 years ago having one of those bag phones. It was like a zip up bag. You had to plug it into the car. The only time you could use it was if it was plugged in, and then you unzip the bag and you pull the handset out, and it had a cord that wrapped and attached to the bag. And it was the only way it would work. It was hilarious. That was only 25 years ago. I mean, we have really come a long way. This phone here is more powerful than my first computer could ever dream of being. So, I mean, yeah, we've come a long way as far as that goes, but at what point do we need to say, okay, this is taking over? It's already taken over our camera duties. You remember how we used to tell kids in high school, you won't have a camera hanging around, a calculator hanging around in your pocket, so you have to learn how to do the math. And guess what? Now they do. They have a calculator. Every kid has a calculator in their pocket. You know, at what point, though, do we have to say this is just a tool? It's just technology. It's just a tool. Communication is still key. It's still about talking person to person. It's still about body language. It's still about facial expressions. You know, how many people have been broken up because one of them is always on the phone? It makes you wonder, what are we teaching our kids? How do we teach our kids to put the phones down? It's just a question. I really, there's so many different ways to go about it, but how do we convince them? Anyway, so I guess that's another thing I'm learning for next semester. No phones unless you're taking notes. And how do I verify that? I'll have to sit there and look at their phones. I don't think so. It'll be an honor system thing, but I'm just going to have to tell them, no more phones in class. Let's have an honest discussion. Anyway, that's my rant. Later.